Andy, at the 2010 Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, it's one thing to see the conventional balloon, the one that we identify as, a hot air balloon, as the iconic image. But that's the old days. I mean, today we've watched Darth Vader fly by. We've watched all kinds of critters and constructs and structures. Some of these are just defy the imagination that you could actually build something like this that could fly. But special shapes has to be this really interesting, if not incredibly eclectic way to make a living.
Special shapes are a different kind of art form. And they're a real challenge to design and make fly. It's one thing to make a special shape that looks right. It's a whole different thing to make one that flies right as well. And so that's where the art and the technology come into it. We built our very first special shape, or the first special shape, back in the early 70s. It was over in the UK. It was a mascot for a jam company, Robertson's Jam Company. And it was a very simple special shape. It was almost like a standard balloon shape with some arms and legs. But boy, have we progressed since there. The market has changed tremendously.
Now, the engineering of something like this, I've got a background in parachute rigging and some of the other things from my skydiving days, and I can imagine just from some of the material standards, but to engineer something like this that can not only fly, but maintain its structural integrity, if you will, has to be just a tremendous undertaking.
Well, there's even more one level of complexity to it than that, but we design these one slice at a time. So you design a slice of the balloon and you calculate the lift, the weight, the sort of center of gravity of that slice, and then you design the next slice above it and you keep working your way up. And then you come together and you can add all those slices together and you can really predict the performance of the aircraft. However, again, as I say, it's one thing to make a special shape that looks right. It's another to make it fly right. But the other thing is we have to actually build it. So, within a special shape, there's all these compartments, and yet we have to get a sewing machine into and out of those little compartments. So putting all these panels together and organizing it in a way that you can physically sew it is another challenge yet.
Are you doing this on computer at this stage of the game?
Yeah, in fact, John Cameron, founder of Cameron Balloons, wrote the very first software to design special shapes. There's lots of CAD packages out there that will, again, create the shape for you, but not really do the analysis and show you how it's going to fly. So he wrote the very first software. Since then, some of the other engineers that work for us have written their own extensions to those to make it all work out. But there's no off-the-shelf product you can buy for designing balloons.
Now, another moment of freedom from Cirrus Aircraft. Freedom through safety. Perhaps the ultimate freedom is confidence, assurance, and peace of mind. We design it into every personal aircraft we build. It's the security that comes with knowing you're flying the plane with a parachute. The breakthrough concept that launched the Cirrus phenomenon.
Before we get into some of the flying issues, the thing that comes to mind is it must drive the FAA nuts.
It can be interesting when you go to the FAA and say, you've got an aircraft that you want to certify, have a standard type certificate, and they ask you what it looks like. And we say, it just happens to look like a cheeseburger. You can get some raised eyebrows. But yeah, fortunately, the aircraft certification office that we work with, we've worked with them for so long, they understand what we're doing, and they really appreciate and understand balloons, so we don't have too much trouble.
Are there trade-offs in handling and capability that go with special shapes automatically, or can you get past most of that?
I always tell people that if you love to fly, don't buy a special shape, because they're a lot of work. They're heavy, they're ungainly, they're not, I won't say they're not fun to fly, but they're more of a challenge to fly. They don't maneuver the way that a standard shaped balloon would. And you need lots of help, because some of these things weigh 700, 800, 900 pounds, just the envelope itself, just the fabric. But yeah, so they all have their own little peculiarities, but they all have their own character as well, and so they're still a very popular item.
So I've got a business proposition that says I've got off the top of my head, I've got this great little German Shepherd back home, and all of a sudden Onion Incorporated has been designed, and I need a special shape looking like a German Shepherd. What's the process? What's it going to cost me, and how soon can I have it?
It's a great question. Not all shapes that are proposed actually work as aircraft. We need something with a lot of volume to it. German Shepherd would work, in fact. So,
Don't tempt me.
so the first thing that we would ask you for is show me a model. Show me some photographs, pictures, model, preferably, of what you have in mind. Then we would create a rendering, a three-dimensional rendering of what we would propose, because we'd have to modify the shape a little bit. We might make the legs a little bit thicker so they have enough volume to sustain their shape. We would develop that for you and probably go through several iterations. Once you're happy with that, you'd sign that off. We'd do the final quotation, and if you liked what you saw, you'd sign on the dotted line and give us a deposit. So how much is it going to cost? Typically a special shape is in the $80,000 to $150,000 range. Some of them can be upwards towards $200,000. Something really simple like a can or a bottle, we can keep in the $60,000 range.
If you own a Cirrus today, or if you are considering the purchase of a new or used aircraft, consider this. Avidyne, in conjunction with the country's leading Cirrus sales and maintenance facilities, has launched the G3R9 program that combines the purchase of a late-model, low-time Cirrus aircraft and the addition of the Avidyne Integra Release 9 avionics suite for much less than you may have thought, and certainly much less than purchasing a brand new aircraft. G3R9, combining the best airframe, best engine, and best avionics for the best value.
And how long does it take to produce something like this?
Typical turnaround time for a special shape is 4 to 6 months.
Oh my. It's such an intriguing thing. And when you see this is a very individual sport. There's not a single person walking around here that's like the next person walking along. And the best part is they're all delightful. And when you see the special shapes that are predominant here today, just all colors of the rainbow, all concepts, some of the stuff is just truly bizarre. But what a great way to talk about the excitement and show the excitement of an industry. I imagine you've just got to have a ball with some of these.
We have a great time. It's always fun to see the concepts that some of our customers come up with, and we see it all. We see people come to us and they really don't know what they want, and they ask us to design something. We have to go through that process of trying to find what it is they really like. We have people that send us very detailed drawings of exactly what they want, and of course we see sketches coming in on the proverbial back of a napkin. Literally that's what we get sometimes, and we work with it all.
What have you turned down? What hasn't worked?
Well, there are some shapes that just don't work well. For example, a classic one would be a credit card. A credit card is so thin, it has so much surface area that it's not realistic to make one that mimics a credit card. One way to solve that we did for a client up in Canada would be to take two credit cards and kind of stack them together so that you create the volume in between. The other thing would be anything that's very tall and thin. If a pen or a pencil, something like that, it wouldn't be doable.
What's the most unusual special shape you've actually committed to flight?
That's a tough question to answer. We built so many of them. We built around 400 special shapes over the years. It's a lot of special shapes. They all present their own challenges. Some of them are challenging from an artwork standpoint. With the shape may be easy, but getting the artwork correct and have it just the right shade and just the right look is a challenge. I think my favorite to this day, even though it's been 20 years since we built it, is the Disney Castle. That was one of the most elaborate special shapes we ever built, and still has a sweet spot in my heart for that one. Although I do have a soft spot for Darth Vader too.
How many of these might you do in a year?
Special shapes, not very many. We're doing, here in the U.S., we're doing maybe 1 or 2 a year. We're doing, a long-term average for the number of balloons we build a year is about 50. 35 to 50 is a typical number. Over in Europe, with our sister company, they're doing probably 5 or 6 or 10 special shapes every year. Some years we do a lot more, some years fewer.